It's time to bring you yet another amazing episode. And now, welcome your host.
Good to have you on the show. This is Omobola Stephen, the host of Live Reality by Omobola Stephen. On Live Reality by Omobola Stephen, we offer constructive, disruptive insight, mind shift conversations from professionals and thought leaders, experts who have been there and done that, all about to providing transformative insights on personal development and self-improvement topics. With the passage of time, we realize the importance of us intentionally focusing on how we can embrace the totality of who we are by personally developing ourselves and also improving on what we have found out along the course of the journey of life. Now, it's also joy and a sense of fulfillment when we've truly found out who we are and also realizing the innate potentials that lie within us, waiting to be maximized, and also the beauty and the bounties that life has in store for us. When we are ready to embrace the changes and the transformation that comes along, when we intentionally want to develop ourselves. That's the mission and the focus of Lawal Lead by Mobile Steven. We want to pivot, transformative insight that is going to move you from where you are to where you need to be with these topics that is literally going to give you a mind shift indeed. It is the mind shift conversations on topics that are covering self-improvement and personal development. Once again, thank you for joining me on the show, Megan Shekleton. You're a certified executive coach for founders and leaders and you're also the founder of Wider Visions. Once again, I appreciate your time and looking forward to a great time.
Thank you so much for having me. And your mission sounds so beautiful and so aligned. I'm excited to be here.
Good to know. Thank you for that feedback. I'm humbled. Once again, I appreciate your team and also looking forward as you're going to inspire the audience of the podcast, Live Early by Mobile Steven, with your area of expertise in terms of coaching tools and how you can how your the mission of your organization, Wider Visions, is to democratize coaching. Looking forward to how you can serve the audience as best as you can. So, how as coaching tools help you in both your internal and external transformation, going by your own personal struggles that you've had in life?
Yeah,
Uh, do you think that these tools, do you think it works for everyone?
I do. Yes. And I've seen firsthand how transformative coaching practices around mindset management, better emotional awareness, nervous system regulation, vision clarity, how to align your actions and your behaviors with who you want to be, how transformative they've been for my clients' lives, for my own life. And frankly, I think it's so interesting that in school we learn math, we learn science, we learn, social studies, but we learn nothing about what our emotions are telling us or how to question your thinking or how to bring safety back to the body. These things that are fundamentally impacting all humans at every moment of the day. And having really practical tools to better understand yourself and take care of yourself and create change in your life makes all the difference.
Oh, all right. So, in terms of a vision clarity for a person and also for an organization, do you think, or let me reframe the question, why is awareness and clarity important for lasting transformation? Do you think we need any strategy or tools in this regard?
Yeah, so I always say to my clients that awareness is the first step of change. And in order to shift into who we want to be, we need to first have awareness of where we're at. And to get that awareness, oftentimes we have a lot of blind spots, right? Like 95% of our thinking is actually subconscious or habitual. And so building that awareness muscle takes practice. And then once you have the awareness, you can start to get curious about, okay, what are these stories that I'm telling myself that maybe are not really supportive with, um, really supporting or kind to me or helping me show up as the version of myself that we want to be? Or get curious about, okay, what are these patterns or behaviors that aren't really aligned with that wider vision that I have for myself? And so awareness is always the first step. And I love to say that, the dreams and visions that we have on our heart are really pulling us and motivating us to invite us into meeting an expanded sense of self. And so I think the dreams that we have are really just a vehicle for us to grow and expand and change into a more expansive, fulfilled version of ourselves.
But really, in terms of awareness, how can a person become aware of who they are and where they are at the moment? How does this happen? Do you have an experience that to buttress this point?
hmm I think that it takes a lot of self-reflection, and in order to have greater awareness, we need to intentionally carve out time to reflect. Whether that be in a coaching session is really great because with a coach, you have a mirror of someone who is really able to hold space for, okay, here's who I want to be, and here's where I am today, and what's that gap. I also think that reflection could look like journaling has been a really big practice of mine, where you're able to kind of externalize and create a little bit of distance from your thoughts, from your patterns, from your behaviors, from your interpretations and the meanings that you're attaching to kind of what's going on in your life, and start to look at them with curiosity. So I think reflection, and then the second piece to build awareness is really curiosity versus judgment. When we start from a place of judgment and really criticizing ourselves, right? Shame doesn't change anyone. And so, how can we be curious about, okay, what what is going on here? Or what am I telling myself that's making me feel this way? Or what meaning am I attaching to this circumstance, this situation? And are there other perspectives? And so those are really two key ingredients to starting to form better awareness of yourself.
Now, in terms of this stumbling on this personal transformation, right? Do you think it's important to begin to check in with a therapist or a coach, or is the personal experience?
Hmm. I think that, coaching is such a really powerful practice because you have that support in the transformation process. With that said, I think with the right tools of, how do we get clarity on our visions, right? When people want to change, oftentimes it's because something's not working in their life. And so, can we flip that on the other side and say, okay, this isn't working, but this is what I really want, and use that as motivation forward? And then from there, it's really a practice of, okay, how can I shift my mindset and shift my behavior, shift my internal and my external to create that transformation? And I think with the right tools, it is also a process that you can foster by yourself.
Coaches emphasize the importance of reprogramming our mindset for lasting change in our lives. Do you think that there are habits that we need to start incorporating in our lives? What are some of the things that we also need to let go of to experience this transformation?
Mm, that's a great question. And I think for each of us, it can be so nuanced and different. But a common theme that I see in much of, like many of my clients, all of my clients, is some level of um, self-limiting beliefs or old narratives of what's not possible for us. Or, every single one of us has those beliefs or those stories that are unkind to ourselves, that limit ourselves, that interpret a situation as um, unfavorable to ourselves. And I think all of us could use to be a bit kinder to ourselves and a bit more loving to ourselves and a bit more compassionate. And so I think, in terms of like habits and behaviors, it's really so unique to the person. But one commonality that I do see is on some level, all humans we can be really critical of ourselves, and the way to change is actually embracing all of ourselves, loving ourselves in the process, and holding ourselves in kind of gentle discipline as we move towards who we want to be.
Megan, really, reprogramming our mindset, it's a tough work. Come on, let's talk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with reprogramming our mindset, I I was really surprised to find out and learn that 95% of our thinking is subconscious. And so one way that I like to describe that to clients is that, your conscious mind is 5% and it's the car. So your conscious mind is the car and your subconscious is the driver, which is really like directing where the car goes. And so reprogramming your mindset, I think it can feel really like opaque to people. Like, what does that mean? Or how do I do it? But in really simple terms, it is okay, getting curious. Okay, in the moment of a trigger or an emotion arises that feels a little bit sticky, getting curious about, okay, this feeling or discomfort that's coming up in me, what does it mean? What am I telling myself? What meaning am I attaching to this situation? And once you can uncover the thought or the story, then it's starting to reframe it or consider other perspectives, getting curious. There's a lot of practices. So that's more of the cognitive way of kind of reprogramming your subconscious. And there are a lot of practices like hypnosis or tapping that you can get more into that brainwave state of where your subconscious mind lives, like more in the limbic system, and embed new beliefs or new supportive thoughts or interpretations there. So there are a lot of different ways into shifting your mindset. Another kind of important piece that I don't think people realize is if your body is in a state of anxiety or a state of stress, fight or flight, your brain cuts off the prefrontal cortex. So we actually don't have, in those moments where we're feeling really, really stressed, we don't have access to our full brain or our full kind of thinking power. And so, a key component of this is also learning tools for nervous system regulation or how to bring more safety back to the body so that you can do more of that cognitive reframing, shifting your subconscious work, which takes a little bit more thought power or a little bit more kind of groundedness in order to get curious about your experience.
What is the importance of embracing changes that comes along our way as regards a mind shift transformation?
Yeah, I think you bring up a really good point of like, in order to transform our lives, we have to be open to change and we have to be open to discomfort. Whenever we're changing our lives, there is always going to be a temporary discomfort that comes with that. Our brains are wired to keep us safe. And to our brains, what is safe is what's familiar, not necessarily what is better for us. And so, to me, embracing change or the mindset shifts, right? You have to be open to it, but you have to also recognize that it might feel a little bit uncomfortable in the process of forming a new habit, really trying something new, considering telling yourself something different. It might feel a little uncomfortable, but that's because it's not familiar to our brains yet. And you have to just kind of wait out that period and then recognize with more time, our brains will get used to this and it'll become our new normal, our new way of being.
All right. So, cognitive, somatic, and subconscious practices. Now, I'm just thinking in my head, and I'm sure this is some of the questions on the mind of the audience. These practices can help shift a person's mindset, reprogram their limiting beliefs, and upgrade their identity. So, how is this possible? How does this work?
Hmm. Yeah, that's such a big question. I think that, those are kind of three ways to start to form internal transformation. And so in order to change our lives, I believe the process and the wider visions process is always about um, getting clarity on your vision, creating internal transformation by aligning your mindset with who you want to be. So the cognitive, subconscious, and somatic, taking aligned action. So changing your behaviors to become that version of yourself, and then enjoying the process. Because for so many of us, we can be so laser focused on the destination that we don't actually enjoy the present moment. And in order to create internal transformation, you can do that cognitively with kind of what we discussed about noticing triggers, noticing places that, you know, there's a belief system that doesn't make you feel good. I feel like we all can understand that when, oh, I don't feel enough, or, oh, I didn't do a good job here. Getting curious about that. And then cognitively, really considering other perspectives and really doing that kind of reframing process. The subconscious piece is really starting to align, really tap into that 95% of your thinking through hypnosis, through tapping, through different exercises, and really allowing your brain to become familiar with who you want to be ahead of the experience. So that as you're making the kind of changes, there's less discomfort because your brain's already a little bit more familiar with it. And then the third way is somatically. So really getting in touch with your body. So whenever we have, emotions are really the physical expression of our thoughts. And our nervous system doesn't lie to us. So if we're feeling a sense of anxiety or nervous tummy, or that fight or flight sensation that can happen, really, how do we start to bring safety back to the body so that we're more in control of being able to feel grounded and choose who we want to show up as in the moment. So I think those are three really effective ways to create the internal change that then allows you to take new action with more ease. But obviously, this is just really like skimming the surface and work that I do in a deep way with my one-on-one clients.
And now, Megan, in all of these, when do we begin to, or when we are seeking answers to all of the overwhelming questions or situations that life bring our way, in all of these, because we are looking forward to change, we are looking forward to a transformation in our lives, right? So the questions are popping up, and we are just seeking for answers. In all of these, worry begin to set in, and also anxiety begin to take toll. Now, how does anxiety begins to affect a person's life? And the second question is, if anxiety is untreated, what could be the outcome?
Hmm. Yeah, I think stress and anxiety um, are one of the like number one things that plague all of us. And at an extreme level, I can take an example of my own life, but um, my growing up, I really struggled with my sense of self-worth, my confidence. I really had tied my sense of like safety and self-worth to my external accomplishments. So if I got a good grade, then I was happy with myself. But if I made a mistake, then I was the worst, and so critical of myself. And take years and years and years of that thinking and that pressure and that stress and anxiety that I put on myself. In my early 20s, I was found myself in a really toxic work environment. And that really hypercritical, high achieving version of myself came out full throttle, and I was crying every day to work. I was having panic attacks in the bathroom. I was terrified to make a mistake. And I ended up getting sick because my body was in a state of, anxiety and stress. It is normal to feel moments of stress, right? It is normal when we are working out, we are intentionally creating stress in our bodies, right? But having a prolonged experience of that is not normal and is not healthy for us. And I think it's something that many people experience and just write off as everyone has anxiety and stress. And what it did for me, being in that prolonged state, I got fibromyalgia, which is a chronic autoimmune illness. And it really forced me to, in my own journey, to start to um, uncover both that mindset piece of the stories, the thoughts, the meanings that I had been telling myself and how that was really hurting me. And it also got forced me to get curious more about my holistic well-being. And through these practices and really having them be more ingrained as my habits now, I very rarely struggle with fibromyalgia. It's a chronic illness, but very rarely I have a flare up maybe once a year versus my flare ups used to last months and months and months and months on end. So, that's one kind of extreme example of if people don't have the tools to better take care of themselves and better manage the stress that's coming up in their life, it can be really harmful.
All right. Okay, so the bottom line is that anxiety poses a threat to a person at the end of the day. So when we understand the outcome of this, how can we better undo or treat anxiety?
Hmm, that's a big question. I think that like with anxiety, and there's so many factors at play that could be at play, whether it be like chemical imbalances or different things going on in people's lives. Um, but at a simple level, you always hear that anxiety is like praying for your worries or it lives in the future. Whereas like depression or feeling really sad, people say it lives more in the past. And so I think a key part with anxiety, at least for me and in my own practice, and something I've seen be really helpful for my clients is um, understanding, building that self-awareness muscle, and with that, understanding, okay, how am I future catastrophizing? Am I thinking about the worst case scenario? Am I really picturing, when I picture this situation, right? Am I telling myself the worst possible thing that can happen? And can I either A, stay present and recognize in this moment I'm okay? B, can I allow myself to remember that I don't know what's going to happen in the future? And yes, that worst case scenario might happen, but what's the best case scenario that I'm not considering? And then C, I think a big part of anxiety again is those practices of nervous system regulation that help you feel safe in the moment because our brains don't know something that's happening in the moment or something that we're just imagining to happen. And that's why when you're thinking about a future situation, you can start to get a nervous tummy, you can start to sweat, you can start to feel tingly, right? And in the moment, you're actually okay. You're just thinking about this really catastrophic thing in the future that you think might happen to you. And so practices like meditation or breath work can be so, so helpful to triggering, like cueing to your body that you're actually safe. And so, a really simple practice is making sure your exhales are longer than your inhale. Um, because when you do that, your brain and your body that registers as safe. And so, one breathwork practice I love is 4, 5, 6, which you take in an inhale for the count of 4. You hold at the top of your inhale for a count of 5, and you slowly, slowly breathe out for a count of 6. And what, doing a few rounds of that, what it does in the moments when you're experiencing anxiety is you're telling your body that you're safe. And then from there, once you tell your body that you're safe, you can start to um, be curious about what was I thinking about that was bringing me so much anxiety. And oftentimes it's something in the future, and it's a story that we're telling ourselves that something's going to happen to us, and something bad's going to happen to us, and we're not going to be safe. Um, and so that's how some of those practices around mindset management, nervous system regulation start to come into play with anxiety and stress as well.
Megan, your company's mission, Wider Visions, is to democratize coaching to journals and products that teach tools for transformation. So, what useful information would you like to pass across to the audience in this regard?
Yes, thank you. I'm so excited about Wider Visions. I'm very passionate about creating accessibility to these tools that have quite literally changed my life. Like I mentioned, I used to be very, very critical of myself, and it caused intense anxiety, panic attacks, um, chronic illness. And with having these practices, I've now feel like I'm a different person in that I'm much more loving to myself. I have a much deeper self-worth and self-confidence, and I'm able to kind of navigate those sticky moments with a lot more ease and neutrality. Because sometimes lifes, and that's just going to happen. But when you have the tools to take care of yourself, you have the confidence that you can handle whatever comes your way. And I've also seen with my clients how transformative they've been. But private coaching isn't accessible to everyone, but I feel like the tools to change your life should be. And so with Wider Visions, we create guided journals and intentional products, like you said, that teach you this transformation process of gaining clarity for your vision, creating internal transformation, taking aligned action, and processes to really like enjoy life to the fullest and navigate enjoying that in between and being in process. And so our first journal, the Vision Journal, actually just launched, and it includes over 80 self-inquiry prompts to help you get clarity on your vision and where you want to go, identifying the identity of who you want to be, and some initial action steps to help close that gap between where you are today and where you want to be. It teaches you 11 coaching frameworks and tools to start really putting that vision into practice, and comes with a QR code to a guided course, meditations, hypnosis, tapping videos. And so we want to be the most accessible and impactful way to change your life.
All right, good to know. Thanks for sharing that, Megan. Do you have any exciting news, any projects in the pipeline? You think it's going to be super beneficial to the audience? Come on. You can share that if you have any.
Thank you. I mean, I'm so excited about the Vision Journal. I feel like it's like a soul, heart-led offer, and something that really channeled through me to create this journal that really supports people in uncovering those bigger visions that they have for their life, and then also helps them start to create a map to create that internal and external transformation. And it's only $28. And so it really is like jam-packed with value. So I'm excited to have that finally out into the world.
Good to know, and excited about this project, sincerely from the bottom of my heart. On behalf of
Thank
the
you.
audience, we wish you best of luck in this project and in subsequent ones that you have in the nice future, Megan. If you don't mind, if you have any social media handles on your website, you can share so we can connect and learn more about you and about our wider visions and what you're offering to the larger audience.
Thank you so much. I would love to connect with your community, and please reach out. Let us know what you thought about this episode. Um, you could follow us at Wider Visions on Instagram or wider-visions.com to check out the Vision Journal. And then my personal handle is at Megan Shekleton, and would love to connect with you. Thank you so much for having me.
It's my pleasure to have you on the show, Megan Shekleton. You're a certified executive coach for founders and leaders, and also the founder of our Wider Visions. Thank you for offering your valuable time and also sharing your thoughts, your expertise in this regard to the audience of Lawali Bamobola Stephen. Thanks to you for the valuable contribution that you had to the topic of discussion. Wish you best of luck once again. If you'd like to catch up with any missed episodes of the podcast, you can catch up on any cross-promotion platforms. I mean, any podcast cross-promotion platforms online or any podcast distribution platforms. You can just go online and search for Lawali Bamobola Stephen on any distribution platforms to bump into. And do have a great time listening to professionals who are adept in the topics of personal development and self-improvement as you get transformed in and out with this transformative insight that's going to pivot the positive changes you and I need in this side of eternity. Remember to give a review, a 5-star rating, if you may, when you come across Lawali Bamobola Stephen. Thank you once again, Megan Shekleton, for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you subscribe and leave us a review.